Okay, recording has started. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. So, I am very excited because my best friend is joining us today. Jenny, say hi to everyone.
Hi, everybody.
All right, I'm going to tell you about what we're going to talk about. Let me introduce Jenny a little bit more. So, Jenny and I think, what have we been friends for like 7 years, maybe? I don't remember, something like
Almost
that.
mine, dude.
Yeah.
When I wasn't pregnant when we met,
No,
or did
you'd
I just
already
have Kaylee?
you had Kaylee. I think she was a toddler. She was maybe one. So
Okay.
Jenny and I know each other because our husbands work together. They were friends years before Jenny and I even met. And so when we did meet, it was just kind of natural that, they're my husband and her husband are best friends. And so we just hit it off and then we kind of struck up our friendship, and it has just been awesome. And so the reason that I wanted Jenny on with me for today, well, first of all, I just love being able to record an episode with my best friend. But also, the topic today goes really, really nicely with our friendship. So, we're going to talk today about the importance of having a friendship with your spouse. And if you've heard me talk in any of the, Facebook Live trainings, or even, before I rebranded the podcast, I talked a lot about the importance of being friends with your spouse. And for some people, that is a little weird, but I think for most people it makes sense, right? So I figured if we're going to talk about friendship and marriage, I want to do it with my friend. So in my, Jenny, I'm lucky. I have a lot of really, really good friends. You and I just part of why I love talking to you about marriage is because our values about our marriage are very similar. The way that we run the way we view our role in our marriage, the way we respect our spouses, our husbands in our marriage, you and I align very much on that, and our husbands align very much on that. And so we're very we're able to understand each other, we're able to support each other in a way that is very familiar. So
Right.
maybe kind of lead us into kind of introducing, what does it mean to be friends with your spouse?
It means having a constant best friend. I know that's repetitive in what we're going to say, but knowing no matter what kind of day I've had, no matter what kind of mood I'm in, no matter what life has thrown at us, my husband is my constant. He is my support system. He is my biggest cheerleader, and I'm his. And I think that goes a long way, not obviously just for our marriage, but for our daughter to see that we genuinely like each other. We love to laugh, and we just our values are the same. And even when we disagree, which, don't get me wrong, we're not perfect. I mean, we do have our disagreements, but we do know how to work through them, and how to even if we're not still agreeing, that we will reach a level ground. So having that, just knowing he's in my corner for life, that's I can't ask for anything more than that.
Yep. And look, I mean, it's hard because not a lot of people have that. I think that it's something that we all would love to have, but the reality is not everyone does. And I think the way I look at it, and you and I talked about this a little bit before we recorded, we don't always, we don't get to pick our family members. We don't pick our
Right.
parents. We don't pick our siblings. We don't even pick our kids. And so there are struggles within all relationships that we have to navigate. And sometimes we decide that those friendships or relationships aren't great fits for us, and we have to make different decisions. But with the people that we don't pick, like, we just have to learn how to navigate that and manage the difficulties. But with your spouse, you have a choice, right?
Yeah.
You do pick this person. And granted, as we age and live life, we change. You hope to change in
Mhm.
in the same direction. But for that to happen, you have to talk, you have to talk, work through life together. But you do pick this person. So if you're married to someone that you don't really like, then that's something that I
Yes.
always urge people, like, why are you married to this person? And I understand there are a lot of other reasons. Some people really just have a value of, when we're married, that's it. We're married forever. And I love that.
Mhm.
I think that that should always be the goal, is to work and improve the marriage. But that doesn't mean staying in a bad situation. It means working at it and improving it and finding a way to have a like this person, right? So, for when you just, well, actually, let me interrupt myself to ask you a question. You have a really cool backstory because you know what it's like to not have friendship
Yeah.
in your marriage. So if tell us a little bit about that, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, so I was married before Jeff. My first marriage, I think I got married when I was 26, and I hung out in that for 10 years, for 9 years, 9 years. Should not have, to be completely honest. Not that he was a bad person. We were just not a good fit. And I would say 6 out of those 10 years, we lived very separate lives. I could not turn to him for anything, and truth be told, he probably couldn't turn to me anymore either, because I had given up. After you try and you try and you try, and nothing is reciprocated, you just become roommates. And luckily, we didn't have kids, so that helped a lot. But I even stuck it out because that guilty feeling of divorce. It's so you don't get divorced. It's bad, bad, bad. But the reality is, for the both of us, we should have got divorced long before the time we did. So when I met Jeff, I laid all cards on the table because I was mid 30s. I knew what I wanted, and there was no more settling. And not just for myself, but for my future boyfriend, spouse, or whatever. I didn't want that. I didn't want that feeling of every day coming home and just being so sad and sitting next to somebody and feeling more alone than you've ever felt in your life. That's the worst feeling in the world, feeling alone when you're literally sitting next to your spouse. So I knew going in when I met Jeff that that is just not the direction I wanted. And truth be told, he was married before me as well. And that was the direction he did not want to go in either. So I would say to anybody who, I guess, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but to anybody who is in a marriage, that if you don't think there's an end, or you don't think you can work it out, do yourself. I mean, be happy. Both of you, just be happy. And it's out there. But you got to be happy with yourself first too. That's another
Hmm.
little tidbit. But sorry
Yeah.
if I went off the rails there.
No, I love it. And look, I mean, we always try, right? We always want to try. We always want to do what it takes, but trying is more than just saying you're trying, right? Like
Yeah.
you have to put in effort. And what I say, even with the coaching program, is this is only going to work if you and your spouse are both giving the same amount of effort, right? If one of you is trying, and like you said, you tried and you tried and you tried, and your ex-husband didn't really match that, didn't give 100% the way you were giving 100%. And then it gets to a point where you're like, I'm done giving 100%. And that's where, unfortunately, things don't work out. But for everyone who is in a marriage that maybe isn't exactly where they want it to be, it doesn't have to be bad. It can just be, hey,
Yeah.
I'm not as happy as I thought I would be in marriage, or I wish things were more fun, or whatever.
No matter
Um,
what.
I think you have to try. You have to put in 100%.
Mhm.
And that's why, like, when I made the program, it wasn't going to be well, here, I'm going to teach you how to do it, take it back to your marriage and implement it. It's you and your spouse need to both be in here. You need to watch this. You need to make the time. And with you and Jeff and, myself and my husband, Richard, I think that's part of what was really important to us is, and you walk into it never ever wanting a divorce. No one wants
Yeah.
a divorce. But as time goes on, and I think for us, we seen a lot of marriages that around us that didn't work out. We had friends whose marriages fell apart. You had that experience personally, and that just, you can take that one of two ways. You can become really discouraged about marriage and
Mhm.
think that it's not going to work, or you can say, well, let's be different. So we have to figure out how to behave differently and make different choices.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And so for you, I mean, do you feel like it just always comes 100% naturally, or are there things that you need to do to invest?
Now, there are things you need to do to invest for sure. I mean, you can wake up every morning. I have a friend that tells me I wake up every morning, and even when things are rough, I make a choice. I'm going to love my husband today. I'm going to love my job today. I'm going to love whatever it is that's going on in my life to make it better. And it is an investment. There are times that, girl, you get so busy, and then you've got sports, and you've got school, and you've got work, and you've got it all. And maybe his socks are on the ground that day and you've just spent all this time cleaning, or just something along those lines. Like, it literally, but it's a choice. Like, something, pick up the socks, because what matters, he did the 2 loads of laundry before that. So, but it is sometimes just conscious choices of little things that maybe make you crazy. Deal with them. But if they make you that crazy, just talk about it.
Yeah.
Just talk about it. Don't let things build up. Talk. Invest.
I love that, because I think a lot of what I see in working with couples is the buildup, the sweeping under the rug, and just the like, I don't want to pick a fight, or I don't want to rock the boat. We're getting along so well, or whatever. And then you let it go. And yeah, there are a lot of things we need to let go of, but sometimes it's not a big deal to just say, hey, do you mind next time you do this, just like put your socks away, or just having a calm conversation. The attitude you go into it matters, the way you approach it, the timing, all of that matters. But so many people just let it go, let it go, let it go. And then it all
Build.
comes up in a moment of frustration. And then you're pulling, the sock issue from 2 weeks ago and you're throwing it in your husband's face. And it's just,
Exactly.
yeah, it's not about the relationship in that moment. It's about you wanting to win because you feel so upset.
Yes.
And so when we talk about friendship in a marriage, I I like to all and it kind of friendship to me, friendship, partnership, I think go together, because if you're in a partnership with someone, then you are choosing to work with them because you think they're going to make a good partner. Like if I'm going to go into business with someone, I'm not going to pick an irresponsible
Mhm.
person or someone that mismanages money. I'm going to pick someone that's aligned with me so that we can rely on each other. And I know if I'm not, if I need help, they're doing it, whatever. And so in a relationship, it's that same. If I'm going to be your partner and choose to be with you, then I need to know that, like you said, Jeff's got your back. He can do the things when you're not 100%, you can lean on him. And we have to allow that too. We have to be a support so that our spouse can lean on us. But with partnership, with friendship
Mhm.
comes respect. So what does that mean, you think? Like respect in a marriage? Your turn.
Hmm. Respect in a marriage. Honestly, I don't even know how I would define it, because I feel like I just have it. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I guess just respectful of, like, my husband understands when I need a minute. He'll understand, hey, go take that walk, go get your hair done, go do something. He'll recognize when I need a minute. And he also, even when I do, so Jeff is the calm one. We all know. Anybody who knows me knows Jeff's the calm one. And I'm the one that might be a little not over the top, not dramatic, but just jump, quick to react. But even when I'm quick to react, he will, okay, Jeff being calm, will take a step back and be like, okay, I hear you, in a
Mhm.
very respectful way. And sometimes I don't deserve a respectful response, to be completely honest. But in a respectful, he'll be like, hey, I hear you. So let's just take a minute and talk about it. So I know I'm not really giving a roundabout or a correct answer, because I just feel like you just know, like, I know he respects me. I know I'm actually at
Yeah,
a loss for words
I
now. That
got
is
you.
never a
Nope.
problem for me.
I love it though, because the example explains a lot. So I'll try to put that into an explanation. So I think
Yes.
I think it's about your focus is on him and his focus is on you, right? Obviously,
Yes.
you still take care of yourself and you are responsible for yourself.
Mhm.
You have to have that accountability for your own behaviors. But when it comes to being respectful in the marriage, it's I'm looking at you. I know you have spent time in, learning about you. So if I see that you need something, I'm going to try to be there for you. I'm going to try to do what it takes to help you and support you instead of just looking at how this affects me. So if you reacted to something and, Jeff could very easily throw that in your face, escalate and match your level,
Mhm.
but you have developed such a beautiful friendship within your marriage that he can look at you and say, I know her. I know that what she is reacting about right now is not it's not personal to me. I don't have to get mad at her. I'm here. She needs my help in this moment.
Right.
And so it becomes like his focus isn't on just getting his need met. He has to put himself, just pause for a minute and then help you get where you need to get. And also knowing that, like, he doesn't need to make you feel bad about,
Right.
making a mistake. So, with Jeff, because of the foundation you've both created, this isn't just something he's done, like, you've done that for him. And I know you've done that for him so much. It's an ongoing thing, right, that you do for each other. But you've had those conversations where you say, hey, that didn't go so well. What do we want to do about that differently next time? How do we want to handle that situation differently? Whether it's a disagreement within yourselves, if it's a parenting thing, you have a beautiful daughter that you have had to learn how to parent. You've never parented before. So if you have a disagreement about how to parent her, or if something comes up that's difficult, you've had personal things that you've gone through that he's helped you through, and vice versa. So that all of those experiences, all of that conversation that you've had over time has laid this foundation of, I know I can trust you. So if I make a mistake, it's safe for me to say, I screwed up, because I know you're not going to throw it in
Yeah.
my face. I know that you are not going to make me feel bad about it. So again, I think that just goes with friendship, partnership, because if I trust you, then I will be vulnerable with you. If I don't trust you, I will be on the defense. I will not open up to you. I will never admit my mistakes. I will sweep things under the rug. And that is because you feel respected by him, and you do that same thing for him. So, what do you think? Well, did I summarize that okay? Did I miss
Oh yeah,
anything?
absolutely. You summarized it better than I did.
Listen,
You
it's
put
fun.
you put my feelings into words,
I kind of know
more
you.
articulate
It
words.
helps. So, it's funny. Jenny and I always, you and I joke around about how you understand, like, when it comes to personalities, you and Rich have a
Yes.
lot of similarities, and then Jeff and I have a lot of similarities. So there are times where you and I will, like, I'll call you and I'm like, well, this thing happened, and you're like, well, I would react the same way Rich did, and this is what he was probably trying to say, and then I'll say that to you. And so it's helpful because um as much as you adore your husband, you are not your husband. Like,
Right.
I feel very understood the majority of the time by my husband, but at the same
Right.
time, he's not a girl. He's not me. We will always see certain things differently, but that's okay. And I think one of the things that when I work with couples who want to really work on this friendship, or just the relationship in general, they struggle with the, like, well, he just doesn't agree with me, or she doesn't see where I'm coming from. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Like, how
Hmm.
weird would that be if your spouse always, always agreed with you? That would be odd. It's just not possible, right? You can grow
Sure.
up with a twin sibling in your home and still have very different personalities and opinions and things like that, but you still get along with that person. But I think we have, um, there's real life friendship, and then there's Hallmark Channel friendship. And
Yes.
a lot of it overlaps. You can have some of the Hallmark Channel friendship, but life is not a Hallmark movie. So
No.
how do we help people? Like, you and I are lucky, right? We have
Yes.
really, really good husbands. They love us. They respect us. They treat us like princesses. We're very, very, very lucky. We nurture that. We work on that too.
Yeah.
That doesn't just come naturally. We work on that. Some of it does, but whatever. So what do we do? How do we help the people that are listening to this and they're like, I cannot relate to you? Like, big whoop for you. You have a husband that's respectful. You
Mhm.
like your husband. I'm not there. Yes, I love my husband, but I can't say I like my husband all the time, or whatever. So what do we do? How do we support people with that? What do they need to hear, to think? Because you've been there where you didn't have
Yeah.
it.
They need to take a look at themselves first. And is your source of unhappiness yourself? Is it your husband? Are you missing something? Are you feeling like you're stuck? Your work all the time. You take care of the kids, you take care of the house, something like that. When was the last time you did anything to make yourself happy? Like, dig deep first and see where the unhappiness is lying, is my suggestion. And talk to your spouse about that. If it is something inside of you, and ask your spouse if he can help you with that, he or she can help you with that. But if it is your spouse, it's time to sit down and have that talk. And can you go back? Can you go back and remember why you guys married each other? Your first date, your second date, when you got married, your favorite restaurant, just anything like that. Is it still there? Is that feeling still there? It just needs to be found and developed and nurtured again. Like, that would be my take. You really need to take a look at yourself and then your relationship and see where those two come together.
Yep. Oh, I love it. Yeah, because I think that life is busy. Anyone who's
Yeah.
listening to this is going to be able to relate to at least that. Life is not, we don't have a lot of time to sit and really do all the things in any aspect of life, right? So,
Right.
but what I think what happens a lot of the time is that the marriage gets put on the back burner because everything else just seems more important. And sometimes everything else in the moment is really, really important. But if you do not make time and prioritize your marriage, everything else will
Right.
suffer. And I love your point about starting with yourself, because all too often human nature is to we look at the other person and really focus in on their faults or
Right.
things they're not doing well, the ways our needs are being met by them. But we have to start within ourselves. You're sure that other person could be making all kinds of mistakes and really causing a lot of the issues in the marriage, but it is never one person's fault 100%. So if I can work on myself, if I can really work through all the ways that maybe I react badly, or I, bring things up in the wrong way, or I have, habits, bad habits, don't do certain things, whatever, if I can work on that within myself, then it's easier to go to my spouse and say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable, and I hope that you won't throw this in my face, but here are the things that I need to work on. I would love for us both to be able to lay all our cards on the table and say, here's all the ways that I'm not perfect, but here's what I'm willing to do about it. Can you do that with me? And that
Right.
sounds easier said than done, but this isn't like we're not jumping right into that conversation. Like, I have tried to lay out so many different ways, like in the trainings and things like that. Like, how do you approach hard conversations?
Mhm.
How do you work on yourself? How do you talk about things that you don't feel comfortable talking about? How do you change or manage roles being uneven and stuff like that? But if you're addressing all of these things, then it's easier. It's not as hard. Um, I don't know where I was going with that. I was rambling.
Working on yourself and how it in turn can work together, become a
Yes.
team.
Yes. So don't be quick to blame the other person only.
Right.
Work on yourself. And again, like the reality that as we grow, as our kids get older, as we live
Mhm.
life, we have to adapt, right? So something that worked really well in your marriage, if you had time for dates before you had a kid and now you have a kid, well, you have to get creative. You have to change the way you do
Yep.
it. You may have found a good rhythm with one kid, now you have two, and you have to change it completely.
Right. That's a big one. That's a big one. And I think I've fallen into that too, where it's like, oh, we have to go on a date and we have to get dressed up and we have to do this. And no, we don't. We can go outside on our gorgeous patio, watch a movie and eat popcorn together. We can play a board game. We can go for a walk. There are a lot of different ways. Sorry, my dogs are barking. There are a lot of different ways to nurture that and have a date at home.
Mhm.
Not, it doesn't always have to be a thing. The
Yep.
things are nice, but it does not always
Yeah.
have to be a thing
Right.
or a production.
Well, and I think also, it just goes back to creativity. Like, I was
Yes.
having a conversation with someone the other day about how they don't have time to do anything together. There's no quality time. And in the end, I was like, do you have time for a 10-second hug in the kitchen? He was
Mhm.
like, yeah. I'm like, okay, do it. Take it. Take advantage of the 10 seconds that you have. And that's not what you would love to do. That's like, it's not the ultimate goal, but it is something. And I think we get in this habit of, if it doesn't look like this, then it is not enough, or it is not working. And I'm
Right.
like, I get that. I'm dramatic and I'm emotional. You know this about me.
Mhm.
I am very much aware of the fact that I am that way. So I have to constantly work on, okay, it's not that big of a deal. What can I do differently? How can I
Right.
change my perspective? And something like, we never have time to go out. Okay, but I got a really good 10-second hug, or I held my husband's hand, or I slapped my wife's butt, like
Oh,
whatever,
no,
you
that's
know?
that, that's so funny because it is little things like if Jeff walks by me and doesn't touch my butt, I'm like, "Oh my God, why are you mad at me? Like, what is happening here?" So, no, but it is like,
Yes.
honestly, I'd rather have those 10 seconds a few times a day than trying to force something that we can't make happen right now. But I think another thing is if we've got time for this,
Yep.
we gotta put the phone down. We've got
Mhm.
to put the phone down. Even if it's for 30 minutes before bed, we've got to put that phone down.
Yeah. And I like to remind people, myself included, like when people say I don't have time for this, because I'll do that with well, I've tried calling myself on this out more than the last year, but I
Mhm.
used to say, oh, I just don't have time. And then I changed it to I'm not using my time correctly,
Right.
right? And I think we're all guilty of that. And just because I've changed my mindset on it doesn't mean don't have to keep reminding myself. But we have
Exactly.
time to do. I mean, just look at, if in the time that you're sitting there, let's say you're at a doctor's office and you're waiting for them to call you back, you're probably on your phone. Could you take 10 seconds of that time and just open your text and send your spouse a
Yes.
text that says, "Hey, I love you. I hope you're having a good day," or was laughing to myself about this memory that I had. Like, it's all about how you choose to use that
Yes.
time and to make an effort to be mindful of that person. So, going back to the friendship thing too, we like to have fun with our friends. We like to laugh with our friends. How do you do that in your marriage? Do you play board games? Do you sit and watch a movie together? Do you make an effort to have fun? And if it doesn't fit naturally into your day, what are you doing to try to find time for it, or to do something that is enjoyable? And honestly, like flirting with your spouse, when should that ever
It's
stop?
huge.
Never. Yeah, should never
Mm.
stop.
Yeah. What is that when you're dating, you do everything you can, to keep it exciting and keep it going. Well, it should be double time when you're married because life does get in the way. So
Mhm.
you should make that effort. Because honey, especially if you were talking about prioritizing your marriage with children, when your kids are out of the house in college, married, whatever, what what you gonna do?
Mhm.
You want to like your spouse, you don't want to travel or retire or do whatever you do. You don't want to restart your life at 45, 50 years old. You need to be happy.
Mhm.
So make that marriage a priority.
Absolutely. And you and I are big on this modeling for our kids.
Yes,
So
that's
tell us
huge.
about that.
Um, that's a really that's a really big one for me. My parents, and I don't know how to say it other than my parents, they got divorced when I was 14. My dad had his own issues. That's a whole other therapy session right there.
Mhm.
Um, but remembering now what I saw, what my mom had put up with, to be honest, what she put up with, and the things she did to handle it, and the way my dad treated my mom, it was just very disrespectful. You don't want that for your kids. You don't want your kids to see that because that's going to leave them with a little bit of issues. So, because of some of the things I saw growing up, and you see with some people we know today, I just try to look at it as, are you treating your spouse the way you want your child's spouse to treat them?
Mhm.
So I think that's a big, 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 big thing. So if your husband is not treating you the way that you want to be treated, or your spouse or your child is seeing, let's take a step back and reevaluate. Does our marriage need to be, do we need to talk more? Do we need to open up more? Let's become a team again. Let's find that common ground. And
Well, and I just realized that our speaker view was weird. Can you still see me? Oh,
yeah, hi.
that's, I just changed us really weirdly. Hold on, I messed it up.
What do we
Uh,
look like?
Dang it. Can you see that? Okay, never mind. I'm going
No, I
back to
can
gallery. All
only.
right. I changed it to where I was small in the corner. I was trying to change it to something
No,
else,
no,
but
don't
I
make me
can't.
big. We're good.
I don't know how to do it. No, but I love that. And I think that it's true. I think we have to remember when we have kids. I mean, having a kid is the greatest thing you'll ever do, but it is the hardest thing you'll
It's
ever
hardest.
do. And having to try to do it with dignity and grace all the time in front of your kids, like parenting while being in a marriage when you're not always on your A game and you're not always your best self, but your kids are always watching you. And so I
Yeah.
think that, we have to normalize that our kids are going to see hard stuff. But like you
Yes.
said, the way we behave, the choices we make, the way we treat our spouses 100% get mirrored in our kids' eyes, and they see that they register that as
Mhm.
normal. So, and yeah, some people will grow up in dysfunction and then they won't be till they're, way into adulthood that they're like, oh my God, that was not right. And I didn't,
Mhm.
this is all I knew. And now they're having to figure it out. But rules need to exist in your marriage about how you're going to act in front of your
Yes.
kids. But it's not just about rules, it's about live that life that you want for your kid to have.
Mhm.
If you're not able to do that organically, if you find that you can't be respectful towards your spouse, then there is something you need to address. You need to get in counseling. You need to figure out a way where the way
Mhm.
that you talk to your spouse is less um disrespectful, and
Yes.
joking, flirting in front of your kids, like that's okay, keep it appropriate, but that's good for
Yeah.
them to see. It's good for them to see the hugs, it's good for them to see you holding hands and just nurturing your marriage. It's so important. And then of course do that with your children. The relationship you have with them needs to be really strong, and it's okay for your kids to know, hey, mommy and dad, you're going to go on a date because we really like hanging out with each other. So we're going to go hang out with each other and you're going to be with grandma or the babysitter or whatever.
Yep.
Um,
And
so,
that's actually what we say. We're like, "Hey, why aren't you bringing me?" I'm like, "'Cause, we actually really like each other. So
mhm,
we're gonna go have some time."
yep,
And
yep,
that's big.
yep.
Marriage
And
is
it's,
not easy, but it doesn't need to be quite so hard either. Just gotta work at it.
mhm, I love it. Yes, ma'am. Cool. Okay. So I think that is good. I think we're going to wrap it up there, friend. This was so fun for me. Um, I don't know that I need to learn how to manage this whole thing because I think we were supposed to be side by side view, and I don't think we are. But you know what? Practice makes perfect. This is going to
Right.
be fun.
As
I
with
know.
anything in life, teamwork makes the dream
I
work.
know. And I absolutely never claimed to be great at technology, so this is big for me. I love you, friend.
I love
Thank
you.
you for doing this with me. To everyone listening, thank you for being with us. And I hope everyone has a really good day. Jenny, any parting words? You good?
Just keep listening to our little Nev here because she has some solid advice for everybody, no matter what at the end of the day. Be happy, work on yourselves, work on your marriage, and listen to Nev.
Thank you, friend. All right, folks. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.